This story begins with a nap time, and Mrs. Jones is on her computer drinking boba tea. As this is going on, Olivia calls a secret meeting by the red slide.
Before I leave, a day where we can rule daycare, but we must not become our enemies. Let me share with you a poem. Kids of the playground, spread my words for the future. Soon there will be a day when kids rule.
Kids of the playground, spread my words for the future. Soon there will be a day when kids rule.
The kids join in with Olivia, but all of the noise from the singing causes Mrs. Jones to investigate what is going on. The kids scurry out of the red slide, and the kids go back to their beds. Olivia is transported to the nearest elementary 3 days later. Olivia's teachings would be the foundation for kidism, and as time went by, secret meetings were held, and the rebellion was on the verge of starting.
Boy, I sure am hungry. Let me get some of these extra chips and Capri Suns. Hey!
Chaos ensues. The teachers are forced out of the daycare and the rebellion is a success. As the kids change the name of the daycare to CKC, Cool Kids Club, they establish their 7 commandments.
Friends, now that we have got rid of Mrs. Jones, we have a matter to attend to. What's a daycare without rules? Therefore, here are the 7 commandments of the CKC.
Most of the kids understood these simple commandments, except the youngest. They shortened it to kids good, adults bad. A couple days go by, and with these commandments established, the CKC flourishes. Noah turns out to be a great leader, and Liam takes a group of kids and educates them on kidism. Of course, Mrs. Jones isn't going down without a fight.
1.
Look at all these toys on the ground. It's no problem. I will work harder.
Yeah, we got to play more under these new leaders, Emma, but I'm noticing that nothing's really changing.
As the weeks go by, meetings are held by the red slide where debates are held for the future of the CKC. Liam and Noah always have the most to say. However, they both have different viewpoints. This will lead to problems between the leaders of the CKC.
My friends, if we want to compete with the neighboring daycares, we must educate ourselves and carry out more duties than before.
A couple of weeks go by and all of the kids improved in some way in their education. But neighboring daycares began to talk of the horrors that must have been going on in the CKC since there was no adult supervision going on. Early in October, Mrs. Jones came back to take over the daycare with the help of some teacher assistants. An argument broke out between the adults and the children, and bad words were said. But in the end, the kids won with only one kid getting picked up. The battle was called the bloodshed, in which they remember the kid that was picked up. As time went on, Molly became more distant towards the CKC, and Will decided to have a little chat with her.
Yo, Molly, I got a important question for you. Since I witnessed you chatting to an adult this morning, what does that imply?
That isn't true.
Meanwhile,
My friends, we must build a robot that will be helpful. We'll then have less work and more playtime.
I believe otherwise. We should focus on getting more snacks instead. Otherwise, we will be starving.
Liam and Noah started competing for leadership. Posters were seen all over the wall. Vote Noah. Vote Liam.
There's no point in siding with either of them. Life is going to be the same as it always has been.
On the following Sunday, a meeting was held to decide whether Liam or Noah had won. Liam got so upset and called over the younger kids who were being taught kidism. Noah ends up being kicked out of the CKC and is never seen again. The other kids in the CKC noticed the younger kid acted as they would have around Mrs. Jones. Liam informed the children that meetings will no longer be held by the red slide. Afterwards, Ava went around the CKC assuring that Liam has sacrificed a lot for them.
If Liam says it, it must be right.
Liam announces that the robot will be built after all, and that all the snack rations will be reduced. Ava talks privately with the other kids about his decision.
Liam never really opposed the idea. He actually supported it from the beginning. It was Noah who had stolen the idea from Liam's papers.
The kids worked really hard on the robot throughout spring and summer, but in August, the kids had to work on Sundays, which was completely voluntary, but their snack rations would be reduced. The kids had worked hard throughout the summer but wondered how they would acquire certain parts for the robot. Here is Liam's solution.
My friends, I decided that we will be trading with
Neighboring daycares. The kids started trading with a teacher that went by the name of Mrs. Whymper. Later on, Liam and the other kids started napping on the teacher's chair.
Charlotte, didn't the commandments mention something about the chair? Can you read them?
No kid shall use a teacher's chair except in nap time.
A ruckus occurred, and when the kids woke up from nap time, the robot had been
You
ruined.
know who is responsible for this? Noah.
The kids were running low on snacks, and as time went by, Noah was said to be entering the CKC and causing disruption. If anything went wrong, they blamed it on him. He was said to be working with Mrs. Jones from the very beginning.
We have to keep an eye out. There might be a secret agency among us.
Days later, Liam called a meeting and allowed kids to make their confessions, and then they were sent away to other daycares. Later on, the lullaby was abolished by Liam. Once again, the kids in the CKC had remembered the commandments wrong. They believed it had said, "No kid shall expel another kid," but in reality, it had said, "No kid shall expel another kid without cause." Frederick and Liam had started a good trade relationship until Liam found out that Mrs. Frederick gave them forgeries. The adults had come back to rebel against the kids. Mrs. Frederick and the others were successful in destroying their robot, but the kids ran them out of the daycare once again. A few days later, Liam had been seen drinking boba tea, and Ava had been caught with a bucket of paint in her hands. Charlotte noticed that there was yet another commandment they had mistaken. The commandment was, "No kids shall drink boba tea," but they forgot the words "to excess." Emma refused to take the day off from work even though she had felt sick.
Emma, are you okay?
I feel a little sick, but I'm fine. It doesn't matter. You can finish the robot without me.
Emma was to be taken to the hospital for medicine. In the middle of the day, the van came to pick her up, but it had a logo that said daycare.
Fools, don't you see it says daycare on the van? Emma, get out of the van! Hurry.
Emma was transported to the nearest daycare 3 days later and never heard from again. Years went by, seasons went by, and many kids left. Emma was forgotten except by the kids who knew her. Since the time Emma left, the number of kids increased and they believed everything they were told. Ava took the other kids to the other end of the CKC and taught them something in private. The next day, Ava had Mrs. and a group of other kids had Mr. and Mrs. in their name, and the group of younger kids came chanting something.
Mr. and Mrs. Better, Mr. and Mrs. Better, Mr. and Mrs. Better.
My vision is a little blurry, but they look different from when I was younger. Are the 7 commandments still the same, Oliver? All kids are equal, but some are more equal than
The
others.
same group of kids that were with Liam started to wear jeans. Later that week, they met with the other daycare members on equal terms, and this is the first time this has happened in the history of CKC. Some of the kids heard a noise, so they went to go check out what it was, and they saw the group of kids with Liam drinking boba tea. They were about to take a drink, but Mrs. Pilkington had something to say. "The times of mistrust and misunderstanding have come to an end." Now that I'm thinking about it, we're gonna change our name from the CKC back to daycare, as it should be. With the name change being set in stone, the other kids couldn't tell which were the adults and which were the kids. And that brings a close to our project. Thank you so much.